A month after I got the DJI Pocket 2, here it is, with a lot of samples, the good and the bad, and feedback about how it performs, and also some tips and tricks about how to make your footage better. Let's begin! Welcome everyone, Tech4O channel. It's been a month since this body has been released, and it's a fantastic camera gimbal, which you can see I'm moving my hand and it just stabilizes the footage. This is the second generation of this handheld, I would say, pocket stabilizer of DJI. Actually, that's not another DJI device, that's another device. But here is the first generation, and if we put it together, side by side, people could hardly make any difference. But truth is that inside there's plenty that has changed. The Pocket 2 is something that we have been expecting for quite some time. This year we've seen plenty of similarly designed products, and although they have the advantage of being newer than the older Osmo Pocket, none of them managed to be really good enough to beat it. So now the Pocket 2 is supposed to make the gap even larger by improving some of the key areas. Since this video is focused more on practical examples of the actual performance and some tips and tricks, yes, I'm going to cover bits about the hardware, but I'm not going to focus that much on this, because I'm pretty sure you're going to have a lot of information in every other review you watch about the DJI Pocket 2. I'll first start with commenting about the price. $350 is what you have to pay for just the bare-bone version, and there's another variation which is called the Creator Combo Edition, which costs around $150 more. The launch price is more or less the same as the price when the first generation was launched. Think of the DJI Pocket 2 as a hybrid between a GoPro, a gimbal, and maybe a smartphone camera. I'm pointing to GoPro because of the small form factor and portability, and I'm comparing with the gimbal because it obviously is a small stabilizer, and also a smartphone because we have no distortions as it is with most action cameras, and you also have a pretty decent video quality combined with a sensor which often is used in multiple smartphones. The other advantage from smartphones that we see implemented here with the Osmo Pocket 2 is the focus. And apparently we can count on shallow depth of field. However, I find this to not be as good as with the first generation. It also offers some pro-grade features, like manual selection for ISO, shutter speed, and also frame rates. And all of that is being delivered through a very easy to understand and follow user interface thanks to the really good DJI Mimo app. Well, at the current price, the DJI Pocket 2 seems to be a really good value pack, and if we put it side by side with other competitors, this is for example the Feiyu Pocket, a much cheaper device, and that's even cheaper, that's the Fimi Palm, and at least based on the first initial impressions, this is supposed to be significantly better, so let's figure out if it lives to the high expectations. DJI have the reputation of releasing their products in two batches, standard, close to the bare-bone configuration, giving you the device only, as well as the more combo with the most useful accessories and extras, which arrive at much lower prices compared if you order them separately. In our case, the combo is called Creator Combo, and as the name suggests, it will greatly reduce the efforts picking social media creative gear in sense of audio and video. The price difference, as we mentioned, is close to $150, and within that money you also get a nicer charging cable, that's not a joke, a quality wireless microphone system, a wide-angle lens, and a compact and rather weird-looking tripod, but undeniably it will save you some time from researching, and more importantly, guarantees that these things are compatible with each other, because I've seen many incompatibilities among different brands, and having things properly working is quite important should you want greater efficiency. Now, concerning the specs, there will be a lot of people comparing the DJI Pocket 2 against the DJI Osmo Pocket, the first generation. That makes pretty good sense. However, DJI have changed a lot in terms of hardware on the inside and a lot about their philosophy, and I think most of these changes are actually positive. Rumors say that it packs newer generation of Umbrella chipset alongside with the newer IMX 686 64 megapixel sensor, which is slightly better equipment than what we can find inside the DJI Mavic Air 2 drone. I'm mentioning it since many people were expecting the very same sensor, but this one is in fact bigger and slightly better, although the pixel size is about the same. The field of view is another key area that has changed. It's now wider, namely 93 degrees with f/1.8 aperture. The lens setup is now equivalent to 20mm full-frame lenses, if that means anything to you. So generally it's pretty wide-angle lens, and DJI seemed to address the major concern most vloggers had about the older Osmo Pocket, which is not actually being vlogging friendly due to the narrow field of view. Concerning the rest of the good sides, up to 60 frames per second in 4K recording, with DJI's superb 3-axis stabilization including HDR video mode, up to 240 FPS slow motion in Full HD, support for RAW stills, and the amazing battery life of close to 2 hours. It also has a joystick alongside with this beautiful carrying case, which would contain, not sure if you can see them, but you can place inside a number of accessories. This is the wide-angle lens. I think that's the USB little part that you can connect to your smartphone, and you can swap it for this joystick. So I think that's a pretty good combo for easily fitting inside your pocket. Forgot to mention, all of that is packed within only 117 grams. From all the accessories, I think this do-it-all handle is the most practical one, and it's really great because it hosts a lot of services. It's something like a multimedia hub. Now you have Wi-Fi, you got Bluetooth. It's also the receiver for this really fantastic wireless microphone that I'm using right now. And also it has a 3.5mm jack, which could be used for external microphones or for a headset. And it's really great. Yeah, it's a little bit expensive. It's around $100. And by the way, at the time making the video, it seems to be sold out pretty much everywhere. So one of the few chances to get it is using this purchase for a creator combo. And by the way, this is a vlogging example where you hear the quality of this external microphone. Let's keep on analyzing stabilization. Like with most new products, I feel that stabilization algorithm can be vastly improved, at least about its factory default behavior. You can of course fine-tune the axis responsiveness from the DJI Mimo app, but I feel there could be some improvements done with the default config. In dynamic environments, especially POV, you're gonna notice that the gimbal is delaying some of the compensations and then very quickly trying to catch up with everything, and that's far away from being super smooth. But as stated, you can fine-tune these parameters and make them work significantly better. I'm pretty sure this is going to get better and better with the future firmware updates. Overall, the stabilization is phenomenal and uncomparable with most similar products that got released throughout the year. Mechanical stabilization is great, but having some additional software or electronic stabilization layer is even better, and the Pocket 2 seems to achieve these perfect results with mechanical stabilization only, and that fact alone is remarkable. If you get used to the ninja walk and practice some movements, you get some really nice steady shots that look like something shot with a much more expensive and larger setup. Now, the solution to go wider with this field of view is also a practical one, because it helps a lot with the focus. I noticed that the Pocket 2 has way less issues in terms of focus, and maybe I had low expectations anyways, but I find it trustworthy unlike the predecessor. Let me show you the software side, because even the best hardware can be ruined by poorly integrated user interface. Menus are a lot and are nicely grouped. First of all, you have a dedicated power button. I don't like this one, does more harm than good. Then the mode button and the record buttons. Most of the config adjustments you have to do from the tiny display, which is small, and people with large fingers won't like it that much. You can change the shooting modes and perform the config from inside here. So if you need slow motion, just select it from here and shoot. If you need to record in 1080p 60 frames per second, select and go for it. If you need to switch to photo mode and take a picture in RAW format, well, it's doable from here as well, or also you can press this quick switch button. Similarly, you can activate the panorama modes, and a few different modes are available for photos in general. There also is a Pro mode where you can specify the shutter speed, ISO, the white balance and so on. And yeah, you can go full auto or set the behavior the way you want it. Important to note is that ISO supported is now up to 6400, which is kind of twice more than the previous generation. I bet there are 2 more questions at least which you didn't get the answers for, starting with the first about low light performance, which is in fact one of the nicest surprises with the Pocket 2, especially considering the image sensor size. I'll place it here side by side with the OnePlus 8 Pro, a smartphone with a much larger Sony IMX689 image sensor. Not bad, DJI, not bad at all. Since we've tried on the channel every single interesting DJI Pocket wannabe, including the Fimi Palm, the Feiyu Pocket and the Snopper V-Mate, we know that none of them is really better than the Pocket 1 in low light. Therefore, the Pocket 2 just makes this gap even bigger, and the low light performance is really remarkable and way much better than the previous generation. The other big question about face tracking or object tracking, I'm afraid I don't have such good news about it. Still, it's doing well. I feel it's 1 or 2 firmware updates away from being really good, so maybe by the time you're watching this video, the tracking is already really decent. So very quickly, this has become my primary just-in-case camera that I bring myself pretty much everywhere where I think there's a slight chance to shoot something and I don't have space for anything bigger. And its footage is not only good enough for YouTube, you can actually achieve some professional-looking photos and videos with some proper color grading, because with 100 megabits bit rates, you do have enough of data for color grading and exposing. Also, don't forget to make good use of this tiny carrying shell, which has room for a lot of accessories. I always have the joystick with me and the Type-C mod, as well as the wide-angle lens, which is not that wide-angle, in fact, just a little bit, as you can see here from the footage. I strongly recommend using filters to get better and more cinematic footage. It may add some bulkiness to the package, but it's totally worth. Best news is that most Pocket 1 compatible filters, which are magnet-based, would work well on the Pocket 2, so my favorite 8-pack by Freewell, having both ND and polarizing filters, worked just perfectly fine. For the time of using the Pocket 2, I have of course stumbled across certain limitations and drawbacks. The power button, nice idea, but also the thing that annoyed me the most, because it's so easy to accidentally be pressed while it's inside your pocket. So you always better put the gimbal with the button pointing towards the bottom. The wide-angle lens is attached using the magnet. Doesn't feel like a strong enough magnet though, never had it falling down, but there always is this feeling like it may happen at any moment. I mentioned the remarks about the dynamic scenes and the not too optimal tracking, so here we are. Currently the Pocket 2, especially the Creator Combo Edition, is more or less the new vlogging king, which is perfect match for people that are looking to film themselves and to be able to capture almost anything using a small, discreet, lightweight, but most importantly, very capable shooting device. Basically, DJI take a normal smartphone image sensor and turn it into a small camera beast on a gimbal. Not without its slight drawbacks, but this solution is far better and reliable and maybe more affordable than anything similar these days. Hard to imagine that there will be a device beating the Pocket 2, but who knows? The Fimi Palm 2 is on the horizon, which is the new generation of this body, and yeah, you can bet I'm going to make a video about it as soon as I get my hands on it, which should be soon enough. So that's been everything about today's episode, presenting you the new DJI Pocket 2, which I believe is, again, the king of pocket vlogging. You know, all in one device, which saves you a lot of money, space, efforts and testing and many other things. But could be that you have a different opinion, so I invite you to share all that in the comment section below the video. And don't go away yet, you know, just do something good for me. Tell me how you feel about this video, like or dislike. Share it with friends so that they get to know this device. And maybe you can think about subscribing so that, you know, you get more cool tech inspections. And Michael, wish you a fantastic day, stay safe, be healthy, and I'll see you soon. Bye!